When billionaires start moving their money, pay attention. Not to what they say, to what they do. And right now they're doing something remarkable. Ray Dalio says cash is trash. Bill Ackman is buying more gold than ever. Michael Saylor is betting $42 billion on Bitcoin. Bill Gates owns more farmland than anyone in America. These are not random bets. These are coordinated moves by people with information you don't have, and the pattern is clear. They're getting out of cash and into hard assets. Fast, our story begins with a problem. Too much money. That sounds nice, until you understand what it means. Governments printed trillions during COVID. The Federal Reserve expanded its balance sheet from $4 trillion to $9 trillion in 2 years. That money didn't disappear. It's still out there, and more money chasing the same amount of goods means inflation. Everyone knows this, but what most people don't know is that inflation doesn't hit everyone equally. It hits the poor and middle class. The wealthy protect themselves, and the way they protect themselves is simple. Get out of cash. Get into assets that hold value when currencies fail. This isn't new. This is ancient wisdom. For 5,000 years, when empires printed too much money, the wealthy bought land and gold and tangible things. They survived while everyone else got wiped out. Roman Empire, Weimar Germany, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. The pattern repeats, and it's repeating now. The wealthy see what's coming, and they're moving. Let's start with farmland. Bill Gates is the largest private farmland owner in America, 275,000 acres across 18 states. He didn't buy this for fun. Farmland is the ultimate inflation hedge. People need food regardless of what dollars are worth. When currencies collapse, food becomes currency. A bag of rice is worth more than a stack of bills. Gates understands this. So does Jeff Bezos, who bought hundreds of thousands of acres in Texas. So do Chinese billionaires who've been buying American farmland for a decade. The numbers tell the story. Farmland prices are up 20% in the past 2 years. Not because farming is suddenly more profitable, because wealthy people are bidding up land as a store of value. They're competing with each other to own tangible, productive assets. And this creates a problem for actual farmers. They can't compete with billionaires paying twice what land is worth. Young farmers are priced out. Family farms are sold to investment funds. The land becomes a financial asset instead of a productive resource. But from the billionaire perspective, this makes perfect sense. Own the thing that produces food. When food prices rise, you profit. When currency fails, you have food. Now, gold. The oldest money in human history. Central banks are buying gold faster than any time in 50 years. China bought over 1,000 tons in the past 2 years. Russia bought over 1,000 tons. India bought 800 tons. Even Poland and Singapore are stockpiling. These are governments. They don't buy gold for speculation. They buy it because they're preparing for a currency crisis. And if governments are preparing, what does that tell you? Individual billionaires are doing the same. Ray Dalio has been warning for years that we're at the end of a long-term debt cycle. His fund Bridgewater has been buying gold and recommending clients do the same. Bill Ackman recently said he is buying more gold than he has ever owned because he sees inflation returning. Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the greatest investors alive, has been loading up on gold miners. When the smartest money in the world moves into gold simultaneously, that's not coincidence. That's coordination based on information. Gold hit $2,100 per ounce in December 2024, all-time high. But measured against global debt, gold is actually cheap. There's $200 trillion of global debt. There's only $12 trillion worth of gold ever mined. If even 10% of that debt tries to convert to gold, the price goes to $20,000 per ounce. Maybe higher. The wealthy understand this math. They're buying before everyone else figures it out. Then there's Bitcoin, the most controversial bet. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy has bought $42 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's not a typo. $42 billion. His entire treasury. His company's value is now tied entirely to Bitcoin's price. If Bitcoin goes to zero, his company goes to zero. But Saylor believes Bitcoin goes to $1 million per coin. He calls it digital property, the ultimate hard asset in a digital age. And he's not alone. Paul Tudor Jones owns Bitcoin. Stan Druckenmiller owns Bitcoin. Institutions are buying Bitcoin through ETFs at record pace. Why? Because Bitcoin has a fixed supply. 21 million coins. Ever. No government can print more. No central bank can devalue it. It's like gold, but better. You can move $1 billion across the world in 10 minutes. Try doing that with gold bars. Bitcoin is programmable money. scarce digital property, and in a world where governments are printing unlimited paper money, fixed supply assets become infinitely valuable. But here's the key insight. It's not about any single asset. It's about the pattern. The wealthy are diversifying out of cash into anything. Real, farmland, gold, Bitcoin, but also art, classic cars, watches, wine, anything that's tangible and limited, anything that can't be printed, because they know what's coming. Currency debase, the slow death of the dollar's purchasing power, and they're protecting themselves. Now let's talk about what this means for everyone else. The middle class, the average person. You're locked out. You can't buy farmland. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos already bought it and drove prices too high. You can't buy meaningful amounts of gold at $2,000 per ounce. Buying 10 ounces is $20,000. Most people don't have that. You could buy Bitcoin, but most people don't understand it and are scared. So what happens? The wealth gap explodes. The wealthy own the hard assets. Their wealth is protected. Actually, it grows, because as currency devalues, asset prices rise. Billionaire who owns farmland worth $1 billion today will own farmland worth $2 billion when the dollar loses half its value. They didn't get richer in real terms, but in dollar terms, they doubled their net worth. Meanwhile, the middle-class worker with $50,000 in savings just lost half their purchasing power. They're poorer. The billionaire is richer. The gap widens. This is how inequality accelerates. Not through evil plots, through understanding how money works and protecting yourself before the crisis hits. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This is a giant game of musical chairs. There are not enough hard assets for everyone. There's only so much farmland, only so much gold, only 21 million Bitcoin. 8 billion people. Do the math. When the music stops, most people will be left holding cash, and cash will be worth far less than it is today. The wealthy know this. They're scrambling to get their chairs before the music stops, and they're not subtle about it. Ray Dalio publishes essays warning about the debt cycle. Bill Ackman tweets about buying gold. Michael Saylor goes on podcasts explaining Bitcoin. They're telling you what they're doing. But most people don't listen, or they listen but don't act. Because it seems crazy. Because it's uncomfortable. Because changing your entire worldview about money is hard. So what should you do? I can't give financial advice, but I can tell you what the pattern shows. The wealthy are betting against fiat currency. They're betting on scarcity, on things that can't be printed or duplicated. If you believe they're wrong, keep your money in cash and bonds. If you believe they're right, you need to own something real. Even small amounts. Even if it's uncomfortable, because the alternative is watching your purchasing power erode while the wealthy get richer owning the things you need to survive. There are accessible options. You can buy fractional acres of farmland through platforms like You can buy small amounts of gold through apps. You can buy tiny fractions of Bitcoin. The barriers are lower than ever. But most people still won't do it, because it requires believing that the system you've trusted your whole life might be broken, that the dollars in your bank account might not hold their value, that your government might not be acting in your best interest. These are hard pills to swallow, but the billionaires have already swallowed them. They've already moved. And when you see Bill Gates buying farmland, Ray Dalio buying gold, and Michael Saylor buying Bitcoin all at the same time, you have to ask yourself a question. What do they know that I don't? Maybe they're wrong. Maybe this is all paranoia. Maybe the dollar will be fine, and cash is king forever. But what if they're right? What if we're at the end of a 70-year experiment with fiat currency? What if the next 10 years look nothing like the last 50? What if the wealth you think you have in your bank account is actually evaporating in real time? Can you afford to ignore that possibility? The wealthy are voting with their money. They're buying hard assets. They're preparing for a different world. A world where currencies are unstable, where governments default on promises, where the only things that matter are things you can touch and own and control. You can disagree with them. You can think they're crazy. But you can't ignore the pattern. When the smartest money in the world moves in the same direction simultaneously, that's not random. That's a signal. The question is whether you're going to listen. If you made it this far, let me know in the comments what you're buying to protect yourself, or if you think this is all overblown. And subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching.